Have you ever got a new harmonica and you go to play it and you're like, wow, this harmonica just doesn't play as well as this other one that I have? Or maybe you have a harmonica, you're learning how to bend, and you find that it's really hard to bend and you don't know if it's your technique or the instrument that you're playing on. Well, there is a quick routine that you can go through when you get a harmonica to go and adjust it and optimize it so it plays as well as it possibly can. The bends are easy to use. Maybe you can hit overblows if that's something that you are focusing on, and you can fix any potential tuning problems that you have with your harmonica as well. And you can just do this by opening up your harmonica and tweaking some things. It's really not that hard. It's something that you should know how to do as a harmonica player. It's like a guitarist changing their strings, and I'm going to show you how to do that in today's reed gapping tutorial. So let's go jump into the demo now.
All right, let's go do a little harmonica surgery together, a little bit of maintenance here to get it playing a little nicer. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take these cover plates off and we're going to go and adjust the reeds, close the gaps on the reeds, and also talk a little bit about tuning your reeds as well if that's something that you feel like you need to do. Now, there's really two main tools for just reed gapping, and that's just going to be some small screwdrivers. We have a little Phillips head here. If you want to use this just to take the screws out, that's what this one is for. And then we also have a little flathead screwdriver, and this is what I'm actually going to be doing most of my adjusting with. So I suggest you get these. Usually you can get these kind of screwdrivers in a pack. You may also, if you want to play around with the tuning of your reeds, get one of these battery or rechargeable engraving tools. So these will spin and allow you to do some reed tuning, which we'll talk about a little later on in today's video. Now, why would you go and want to do this? Well, I have this session steel here, and I already know, because I've tried it out ahead of this video, that some of the reeds just aren't working as well as they should. And so there's a couple symptoms of this. One is that it's going to be very hard to bend. Another potential thing you may experience is you notice a lot of air leaking through on your sound. And another thing that could happen is that there's a little bit of a delay between when your breath starts and when the reed actually plays. In the case of a delay, it usually means that your reeds are too tight. And in the case of something being kind of hard to play, hard to control, or actually be something that really sounds leaky, that means your reed gaps are too open. If you want to also play overblows, you will find that you just can't get your overblows unless your reed gaps are set up as much as humanly possible. So let me go and demonstrate. I'm just going to try a couple things on these holes and I'll let you know what I've picked up here. So here's hole 2. Hole 2 sounds pretty good. Here's hole 3. Hole 3 is pretty hard. I can bend really well, and I'm having trouble getting those bends there. Do you notice that kind of leaky sound? So that would be a really bad case of this happening. Sometimes it's more minor and subtle. The reality is you can buy a really nice harmonica, something that's $50 to even up to $200, and you could still have issues like these. I know that when I started, I originally got a Special 20 and there was some reed gapping problems, and I actually returned it to a store because I didn't understand this. And so don't make that same mistake. This is a fixable problem in almost all situations, whether your reed isn't performing correctly or even if your reed is out of tune. So let's go look into this a little bit more. I want to try a couple other holes. Hole 4 doesn't sound very well gapped. It's a little leaky for me. You probably can't hear it on the recording, but I can notice a little bit of air that's coming through as well. I'll try hole 5. So I can't get the overblow on holes 4 or 5. Let me try 6. So hole 6 is kind of interesting. When I start playing it, there's a tiny bit of a delay before the note comes out. But the draw sounds fine, and I can get the overblow. So this is a situation where the reed gap's a little too tight. So when it's too tight, you're going to have that delay, and when it's loose, you're going to have a leaky sense, or the bends are going to be hard to execute on. So let's go and take a look at this. Now, you are in most cases going to just take your plates off with the Phillips head, and then you're going to take both plates off. And when you want to test it, you just put your cover plates back on. Just to make this video a little bit easier, I'm going to very carefully just take off one side. I do not recommend that you go and do this. I just don't care about this harmonica. So, you know, because you can see I can potentially damage that bottom reed. So don't do what I'm doing here. Just take both plates off and then just stick them back on when you want to test things. This is a process of trial and error. So let me go show you what I'm looking for here. So let's look at, let's say hole 3 and 4, I feel like needed some work. So let's say hole 3. So you see that little tiny shadow underneath the reed right there? Okay, that's what we're looking for. And we want to make sure that that shadow is about as small as humanly possible without the reed being so below in the channel that it just gets stuck. So as an example, if we look at hole 6 here, there's barely a shadow underneath the tip of that reed. Same thing with hole 5. Hole 5 is pretty good too, but hole 4 and hole 3, there's a pretty significant shadow. It's kind of hard to see on the camera, so I'm just going to rotate these around. So we're looking at the shadows right there. So hopefully you can see it. There's a little bit of a shadow. It's pretty minor, right? But that's what we're doing. And so if we take a look at hole 3, what I'm going to do here, it's very simple. I'm just going to take my fingernail. I'm going to push back on the back half of the reed. So not here on the tip, but towards the back, because you really need a little bit of leverage to get it to bend. And I'm just going to keep pushing this down until that gap disappears, as much as possible without the reed getting stuck in the chamber. You don't need to be worried about breaking your reeds, very unlikely, but if it makes you feel better, you can try this out on a cheap harmonica like an East Top or a Fender Blues Deluxe. If you have any cheap harmonicas laying around, you may want to practice with those first. All right, so that gap is getting a lot better. You can see how many times I have to press it though. It's not something that happens very quick. All right, so that's pretty good. I think it could be even better, so I'm just going to keep going. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. I'm going to do hole 4 as well. Again, there's a little bit of a shadow there. I'm just going to press down on that. Looks like one press was all it took. And so those look pretty good on that end. Now, before changing anything else, let me go and try this out. So again, if you don't have your harmonica set up like I am, where I'm rotating it, you're just going to put your cover plates on, do the best you can to line them up, and then test your reeds out. So I'm going to test hole 3 and 4, which is the ones I adjusted. So it sounds a lot better. The draw reed is a lot more responsive. It doesn't sound perfect, and so there may be an issue with the blow reed, which we'll look at in a second. Let me try hole 4. All right, so hole 4 feels great now. And I wonder, I might even be able to get the overblow now. So not quite. And so what that tells me is that there's some issues with the blow reeds. So the draw reeds are these ones on the bottom and the blow reeds are on the top. Those are the ones that are recessed. So if we look at these, we're going to do the same exact thing. And so we're going to find hole 3 and 4. And so what we're looking at, it's kind of hard to see on the camera, but if you can't fully see it, just take my word for it. The shadow is, there's a little gap right here at the end of the reed, okay? See if you can see it there. Right at the end of the reed. And that needs to be filled. And so to do that, I take the little flathead screwdriver that I have. I'm going to do hole 4 and hole 3. So I put it right in the channel there, right in the hole, and then I'm just going to push up on the reed. I'm going to really overdo it so you can see. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. And again, I'm going to push up mostly towards the bottom. You have to go a little more towards the top when you're pushing up on here just to get enough leverage to do it. I'm just going to push it up, and I'm looking at that little hole at the end, and I want it to be as small as possible while still allowing the reed to move freely. Same thing with hole 3. Okay, so that looks better to me. So you would do this for all of the different reeds. If you want to be able to overblow, you're going to need to make sure that both gaps, the draw reed gaps and the blow reed gaps, are as small as humanly possible. Okay, but they still need to be there, because if they go too far, your reed is going to be slow to activate like I showed you at the beginning, and we'll go take a look at one of those situations here in a minute. But anyways, let me go test hole 3 and 4. Here we go. Hole 3 feels good. Okay, hole 4, I'm going to test that. All right, so hole 4 feels great. Let me see if I can get the overblow even. So look at that. I got an overblow there. Now, if this was a harmonica I was going to perform with, I'd keep tweaking it and just make sure that I get it as perfect as humanly possible. What you want to do is be able to blow and draw with a lot of volume and also bend with a lot of volume. So I'd go slow and then raise up in volume, like... feels perfectly fine. And then ideally, if you can overblow, you want to also test that as well. So do you hear how it's starting to like kind of ring out? There's like a metallic, ugly metallic sound when I do that. The longer I hold it, it starts getting louder. So in that situation, there would be a little bit more optimization that I would do here to make sure that that is perfectly playable. All right, so that's the deal. Now, you may be wondering what happens if you go too far. So let's go take a look at that. So on hole 6, it's registering for me, but it gets a little stuck. And so all you do is you can just take your screwdriver and just do what you do with the blow reeds. You're just going to go in the slot and then push up. Some people will get a piece of paper and they'll lift it, but this is more effective in my experience. Okay, so you just want to go and lift up like that until the reed gap is a little bit larger. You may have to do this a couple times, and also I would look at the blow reeds here. So I'd be right here and I'm looking at that gap here, and maybe it's too close. And so I just go and press down until I see a little bit more of a gap. This just takes some fine tuning, but this is like a guitarist changing their strings, right? We want to feel comfortable with this. You don't need to go and pay somebody to do this for you. There's nothing wrong with hiring a harmonica customizer and just buying a custom harmonica. But for this just basic optimization stuff, you should be able to do this. And again, test this on a cheap harmonica if you want to make sure that it's working right for you. Okay, now I'm going to try hole 6 again. So if you notice, before there was a little bit of a delay, I think when I do the blow note, but now it comes right away. Let me try the overblow. So you can see the overblow isn't working quite as well. And so if this was a harmonica I really wanted to set up, I'd take the plates back off and I go tighten them up again and just try to find that perfect Goldilocks zone of being able to hit that overblow without having any sort of weird delays in the way that my notes are working, okay? And so that's what that process would be like. Now, the other problem that you may have with your harmonica is that your reeds are a little out of tune. And so that's where this thing comes in. And so let's say I was, playing this harmonica and then hole 4 draw, I felt like was a little flat and I wanted to sharpen it up. So you get one of these tools, they're about 20 bucks. You can get them on Amazon. And we're just gonna have a little tip here. It rotates. I'm gonna turn it up to full speed. And then I'm just going to go to the hole that I want to go and adjust. And if I want to tune it higher, I'm going to go and do a little bit of grinding here on this front tip. Let me show you what that sounds like. This probably isn't the right shaped tip that I have on here, but eventually you grind away on that. And then you would do this with a tuner. And I'm not going to go through the whole process right now. Just a quick idea here is you try that note. And that's a little bit sharper than what it was. Now, there wasn't actually an issue with this reed here, so I just made it a little bit sharp. But that's what you do. So if your note is flat, you can go and grind the tip to go make it more sharp. And if your reed is too sharp, you can go and grind the bass. And so you just go through this process and then you go and try it. And then, you'd have a tuner out and you'd have to be a little bit more careful when doing this. So like, and that actually is a little bit back down. Now, if I was doing this properly, I'd have a tuner and I'd be looking at the pitches. Harmonica reeds want to be slightly sharp. And so sometimes when you could have a reed that is too sharp and that you're going to want to go and grind the base of the reed to go and lower that pitch. But in most situations, you are going to have a reed that's a little flat and you're going to want to raise that up by grinding away at the tip. You don't need to do this, but sometimes you may find that you have a harmonica, you've been playing it for for a couple years, and one of the reeds just all of a sudden sounds really off. And this is a fixable problem. You just get the little tool, grind either the tip to make it more sharp or the base to make it more flat. It works. You just got to get a tuner and then just go and test it. It's something, you know, you can maybe make a little bit more damage on your harmonica doing this, but if you are just trying to save a harmonica that you're going to throw out otherwise, I mean, why not do it? It's no big deal, right? Just give it a shot, check your tuner, and make sure that everything sounds good. And so, yeah, that's how you go and optimize your harmonicas. And if you do this, your harmonicas will be easier to bend, easier to play. You can fix any lingering problems that you may be experiencing with them, get all of your reeds tuned properly so they all sound really good, and now your harmonica plays better forever. I hope that this video helped you. Like the video if you got something out of it, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.